Probably one of the things I'm most well known for when it comes to my scientific career is that sleep improves memory. And that shouldn't surprise you given what you just learned about how much sleep, and particularly rapid eye movement sleep, activates the bilateral hippocampus. This is the structure that is the most important for your ability to encode new information, acquire new things, and then to consolidate those skills, facts, information, experiences, so that you can remember and use them creatively later. Sleep is essential for that process, so it's not going to surprise you now that you know how much the hippocampus is activated by sleep and how much it does for you while you're sleeping, that you get these big performance enhancements when it comes to the realm of memory. Now, I'm going to give you a memory test, and we're going to start by having you look at this fixation crosshair. That's how every good psychology experiment starts in the lab. And I'm now going to play you a list of words, and I just want you to watch the screen and pay attention because later I'm going to be testing you. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, are you ready for the memory test? What would have been ideal is if I had asked you to go away and take just a 10 to 20 minute daytime nap. And then let's just say we were in a group. I could compare the people who took that nap to the people who just spent 10 minutes involved in scintillating conversation with me. And then we could compare performance. And in a big enough group, you'd see right away that those people who slept, even if they just had a few minutes of a daytime nap, they typically outperform by a lot the group that remained awake. Unfortunately, I'm not there with you live in a big group, but let's see what you as an individual can remember. All right, are you ready to test your performance? I'm going to put some words up here, and your job is to just determine for yourself whether the word was or was not on the list I played previously. Are you ready for the first word? Second one? Third word? Fourth? Fifth word? But actually doctor wasn't there. Now, if you were in a group, usually anywhere from 80% of people down to about 40 if the group is smaller, but it's almost always the majority of any given group, will falsely recall the word doctor. But it wasn't on the list. So if you thought that doctor was on the list, you technically just had a false memory. And in case you're thinking, well, physician's on the list, it's just a synonym, that's not true. And the reason we know that is because we deliberately developed these lists to represent the gist of information. And the way we formulate these lists is we'll give people a word like doctor, okay? And we'll take a group of 100 people. Just tell me the first words that come to mind when I give you the word doctor. And people start generating those semantic associates. Or a word like window or mountain. And the point is that not always do these lists have a synonym like physician. And yet people still falsely recall or falsely remember the gist word. But that's the point, is that while this is a type of false memory, it's actually a highly adaptive type of false memory. Because what your brain just did, if you falsely recalled the word doctor, is you extracted out the gist or the meaning or the essence, the takeaway from the list. And this says a lot about the way our brains are organized when it comes to memory. Think about this. If you went and talked to your kid or your spouse or your significant other or just a friend about this, you wouldn't say, oh yeah, I watched this video today and there was this professor and consultant who put up a list of words consisting of nurse, sick, lawyer, medicine. You're not going to remember the details like that, right? And that would actually take up way too much brain space for you to track every single detail. You need to be able to see the forest through the trees. So your ability to extract out just what's most relevant, in this case, the semantic gist, that is hugely beneficial. It's space saving, it's time saving, it's a heuristic that really and truly, you would be much better off if you were to describe this experiment just telling people, oh yeah, she put up a list about doctors, right? Because that's what represents the gist or the overall meaning of the list. And that's a shortcut that saves you space. And in this particular example, the memory ends up being false. Now, there are a lot of different false memories that are truly bad. This is not one of them, though, or at least not in my opinion. I see this as an adaptive form of cognition. It's this gist extraction ability is a higher level type of cognition that's built on memory that allows you to extract out the essence rather than just getting all wrapped up in a lot of superfluous details. So this gist extraction is actually a really important skill to have. You see the big picture, you extract out the essence, and then you move forward. And more often than not, that's actually a beneficial thing to do when it comes to cognition. So we actually did this experiment, and I'm going to show you the results. So we test people on many of these lists, either across a day of wakefulness or across a night or a nap sleeping. The data I'm about to show you will be from an overnight design. And we also test groups on their memory abilities for these lists just in the morning or in the evening after a really brief delay, about 20 minutes. And we have to do that as an important experimental control because, as you might imagine, some people are just better at memory performance in the morning and some are better in the evening. And for some people, it just doesn't matter. But we have to control for that. In college students, by the way, they're so all over the place that it really doesn't tend to matter when it comes to their memory performance when you test them. And that's what you're seeing here. So at 0 is just where their baseline memory performance was after just a 20-minute delay. Okay, again, either in the morning or the evening. We just collapse that into one short-term memory group. And that gives you a sense of, okay, so where are you if you're just trying to retain these memories over a brief period of time across just 20 minutes? Now that we have that baseline, let's see how memory performance changes as a function of whether you sleep on the information or you remain awake for exactly the same number of hours in the daytime. And there are two ways to assess performance on this task. One is to look at people's ability to correctly recall the words that really were on the list, like medicine and nurse in that previous example. That's the detail memory. Then we also looked at their ability to extract the gist. And as I just said, this gist extraction in this case is a good thing. So let's look at performance across the sleep and the wake groups when it comes to the words that really were on the list. And what you can see here is that there's just a huge amount of forgetting in the wake group. There's also significant forgetting in the sleep group, but you experience significantly less forgetting if you sleep compared to remain awake during the day. There's no sleep deprivation here. So that tells us one of the first important facts about the relationship between sleep and memory, and that is that sleep makes you more resistant to forgetting. And that's important. That's very important, especially as we age. Getting good sleep is essential for protecting your memories. So that's for the details. And we've already seen this beneficial effect of sleep, which is putting a brake on this precipitous forgetting that happens otherwise. You forget significantly less if you sleep on it. But now the more interesting results, what happens to this ability to extract the gist, to see the forest through the trees? And here you see performance going down again in the wake group, but in the sleep group, it actually goes up. People have a much better gist representation in their brain. So what that means is that they are not only remembering the details better, but they're also much better at seeing the big picture. So if you're not sleeping, you lose these two types of memory abilities. One is simply the ability to remember accurately about the details of your day. And the second one gets at this ability to start seeing patterns and to start extracting out generalities. Maybe you're starting to synthesize and picking out just what's really important from your day or from some learning experience that you've had. That is what sleep does for you. Again, it shouldn't be a surprise given just how active the hippocampus is during sleep that you see these memory benefits. But this is to show you that we actually see them behaviorally when we do memory experiments in the lab too.